Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this Digital Outcomes What's Next. I'm Chris Farthing, the CEO and founder of Advice Cloud, and we're delighted to be accompanied today by Jack Sexton of the Government Commercial Agency, who's going to do a little showing of some tooling we've got. We're very excited. I saw it last week, and it's really good to show the filtering. But yeah, today we're going to be talking a lot about Digital Outcomes 7 because it's gone live now, and we're going to start seeing some opportunities starting to come through. So it's a really good chance for us to update and to talk you through where we see and how things work, really, because it's all changed. So in terms of the agenda, well, first of all, actually, there we go. Massive congratulations to everybody for getting on this. It feels like it was so long ago, but it wasn't really that far ago. So well done everybody for getting on to the latest round of DOS. It's also, I'm realizing it's actually come out, it's 10 years anniversary now. So congratulations to Digital Outcomes and Specialists as well for lasting so long and being one of our most favorite frameworks that we ever have to work with. So just from an agenda perspective, we'll do a quick introduction to what the session goals, a very brief DOS overview, so we'll talk about what's next. Then we'll hand over to Jack and GCA for the buyer filtering tool walkthrough. A quick roundup then from me about how we can help and some of our resources as well. And we've got Q&A as well. We put a whole list of helpful links in there around helping you make the most out of being on Digital Outcomes and Specialist 7. And hopefully you'll find this useful. So without further ado, let's crack on. Quick introduction to us. We are, those of you who don't know, we're public protected procurement specialists, only focus on tech and digital, only focus on the UK Gov. Got extensive framework and bidding expertise. That's pretty much all we do. Over 11 years experience. I'm an ex-Gov buyer myself from my sins, having worked in central, local, health, regulatory, policing, and a bit of outsourcing over my career. The point of starting Advice Cloud was to help demystify some of the world of government procurement, which we've been going for 11 years now. We've got over nearly 600 clients. 72% of our clients are SMEs, and there's a fair bit of money being won as a direct result by our clients. And that's working with scale-ups, SME, industry leaders, but also, we're very proud of the fact that we're certified a great place to work the past 2 years, and also doing our bit towards the environment by being certified carbon neutral as well. So today, what you'll walk away with, and this is my MD, Ella Grant, delivering some of the force here. Anyone knows me knows I'm a Star Wars nut. So we'll try to help you understand how to turn your DOS 7 place into actual revenue, what buyers will expect from you now, where suppliers typically struggle, how to avoid it, and some of the actions you'll take now as well. But it's really, really important, I think, for you to see how buyers are going to be using the framework, because that's going to help you understand actually how then you can use it as part of your sales strategy. So we do run polls through these. So I'm ably assisted later as well by our marketing lead, by our content lead, and Christina Smart, who will run us through a quick poll about whether you've sold through DOS yet. If you wouldn't mind quickly answering that, and then we'll crack on. Okay, I think we're up to about 75% of people that have voted. So if we could just, and that Christina show the results. Yep. So we got 20% of you, congratulations, win regularly. A few get through stage 1 but not actually winning anything, and there's people on there. Over half of you either haven't been on the framework before or haven't actually sold anything through it. So hopefully there's something here for all of you. We try to, on these sort of things, do our stuff from for the entry level for the first person. So if you're a little bit more experienced on this, then hopefully still you'll learn something, and you'll definitely learn something from Crown Commercial. So if we can, from GCA. If you can close that, please, Christina, and we'll crack on. So, in the Digital Outcomes 7 overview. So, you're listed here. Here's what that's worth to you. So, it's the latest iteration of the DOS framework. So, it's nearly 10 years old now. It went live at the end of March. It is one of the busiest frameworks in the public sector. It's now at 1,600 suppliers. It was around 3,000, but there's not that many, I think. People are going to really be missing those ones because there's only a few hundred that have actually won business through it. So it's good to actually get that down to people that are actually meaningful and looking to use that to sell as part of their armory to sell to the public sector, and that's across 4 lots. The projected value is about 14 billion over 6 years. It's an open framework, so it means it can last for quite a long while. And of course, that ceiling value should not be taken into account for the amount of business that will likely go through it. because you have to allow a certain amount of room to just give some flexibility. And of course, being this is just a start, suppliers who win work are very rarely the ones responding just to cold tenders. I live and die by the maxim that if you didn't know a bid was coming, you've got to really have some very, very good reasons why you're going to respond to it. Okay. So how GCA activated the framework? So we consolidated two previous frameworks, which was Digital Outcomes 6 and Digital Specialist and Programs, into one unified agreement. So we got split at 5 into 6 separate ones, and now we're back into the unified agreement now. In certain contracts on lot 1 coming up to 4 years, so there's a lot more stability for major delivery programs. The supplier cap has been removed from DSMP, and the insurance requirements reduced as well, making it much more easy to compete. As you can see, I think it's in the programs lot, it's gone up from about 40 odd people up to about 200 organisations. So that's good news for SMEs out there and people that are looking to get involved in some of the bigger scale programs that are out there. And it's fully aligned with the Procurement Act 2023, which we're all just still coming to terms with. It's only just over a year old now, including updated terms and processes, which we will talk through somewhat. So here's the frame structure. In lot 1, it's digital outcomes with over 1,400 suppliers. You can see here we're giving the description of what it's about. And lot 2 is the capability partner. Sorry, lot 3 is the specialist one. So that's the second. Lot 3 is so for the individual specialists with expertise in digital roles, supporting defined projects and transformation initiatives. Outcomes is what it's about, outcome-based stuff. It's very busy. It's where a lot of the work goes through. And the digital capability delivery partners is for long-term digital transformation programs, capacity building, and strategic resource augmentation. And finally, at lot 4, we've got the user research studios and participants, which is always useful. Government does a lot of this where they actually try and say, understand what the user need is. It goes all the way back to the version of DOS. What does the user need? And they can test and try stuff out, find out, do big testing what the users want. So have panels of users come in to digital studios and to help with that. So the framework timeline, DOS 7 will run for 6 years, up to 6 years from the 31st of March. It will reopen a number of times. We have to do a supplier refresh, and it's likely to be reopening soon, even though it's just going live. There's a likelihood that it may have to reopen soon. Okay, as we said, the projected value of 14 billion is inclusive of that over its full term. If you look at the previous framework spend, it's been about 10 billion over the past 10 years. So, given the pace of the work and things that are going there, take that 20% of that off as well. Then you're really going to be looking, I'd say, around 10 to 11 billion is likely to go through that framework, through the framework. I think it's about at its height, it was doing about 2.5 billion a year across 3 lots. So, vast majority of those were outcomes and specialists. So it's still very much a key part of the GCA armour in terms of frameworks and helping buyers actually deliver the outcome-based work that they need, alongside things like tech services 4 and G Cloud as well. Call-offs can run for a lot longer. I think it was 2.5 years maximum under the previous iteration, so you've got a bit longer to deliver stuff now, and there's time to actually get mobilised and to allow to change for different regulatory changes and changes in the market as well. And as I said, DOS 6 ran from June 2022 to March 2026. So how buyers use DOS 7? So first of all, this is the new bit in which GCA are going to come and tell us about in a minute. There's an ability to filter suppliers via what's called the Contract Award Service, or known as the CAS tool. So you can see on the different lots there how you can filter. Now, you have been asked, once you've got your award there, to actually update your products and your locations and types of stuff that you can offer there if you're on lot 1. Lot 2 and lot 3 is just product. So product. Lot 3 is much more around types of roles you can offer, the number of people you can offer, and the security clearance levels. And then, studios is the studio attributes and the participants as well. Okay, so it's a very, very new thing. There was previously used, I think it was on the specialist lot, was used much more as a spreadsheet, but this is I've seen it. Wait and see what GCA have got to show you. To be honest, I'm not going to try and steal their thunder. So in terms of how the routes to market, there are 3 different routes to market available under DOS under the PA 2023 rules. There is no award without competition or direct award as it's known. This is a further competition-based framework, and only further competitions will be entertained through DOS, okay? So you can now have a single stage, yeah, and these talk through the various different stages of it. This is quite high level, by the way. There's much more detail in the GCA Buyer's Guide on the website, which we have a link through from there. So the buyer will come in, accessed by the Public Procurement Gateway and the Contract Award Service. There can be some optional pre-market engagement. And if you want to use the filter tool, it's optional for lots 1, 2, and 4, but in the lot 3, it's actually mandatory. So you would then have to issue an ITT to your filtered suppliers, and it may include some conditions of participation, which will be known as like PQQ style stuff. The responses will come in. Now, for a single stage, you think about the amount of people that are on this. So you've got to be fairly confident you're not going to get overwhelmed with lots and lots of tenders, yeah, for this. So, you know, I think probably a manageable number is usually anything between 7 and 15 for me as a buyer. And it was anything more than that, and I'm probably going to need to put a sift in. You'll evaluate your response, then award and publish your decision. Now, the traditional DOS route was a 2-stage route, yeah, which is, you know, the same 3 things there, and then you publish your conditions of participation, including the stuff you want to do around the stage 2 ITT as well. So you know all of your evaluation criteria, and people will know what they're going to be responding to, what they'll be asked them to do. Suppliers will then submit to stage 1, depending on how you've done that, which will be, you know, be the backward look. Really, how can you do this stuff? Have you done this stuff in the past? Yeah. Once then you've been down selected, you can then respond to stage 2, which is the ITT type stuff, which is, you know, about the service. How will you deliver what my requirements are, what my outcome based, or what my person is I want to do? All right, that will then get evaluated, and then the award will be awarded, and the decision will be published. Yeah, which is great news under all of the PA 2023 rules, that everything has to be published. Yeah, in terms of the award decisions and the reason for awarding, and certainly if it's above a certain threshold level, it will then also, you have to give details of the contracts and you know, how the KPIs, and it's also some of the social value stuff too. Now, multi-stage can involve the conditions of participation, and ITT. It can involve maybe site visits. It could involve references. It can involve doing a pitch. There's multiple different things it can be used. And so a buyer will have to choose the stages, work out how they're going to do that, publish how they're going to do that, run the competition for each stage. And each time, at each stage, you're looking to sift the numbers down to, you know, it could be the final negotiation phase, then award and publish decision. Obviously, this is very, very simplified. But it's what we're trying to do is highlight the changes from the standard DOS route, which used to be, you know, a shortlist question of around 10 questions, which you had 350 words to answer, and then, you know, if you were scored between 0 to 4 on that, you know, 0 to 3, sorry, on that, it's very, very different now. All right. So in terms of what's new, the evaluation is very different as well. There's nothing out yet, so it's very difficult to assess how this is going to work. But buyers will set criteria for the evaluation of each stage. Quality, which includes social value, can be set from anything from 0 to 100%. And you could make it all based on price as well, you know, from anything from 0 to 100% as well. But so it doesn't have to be that quality price mix. But I think if you're going to start getting into those sort of scenarios, anyone who's bidding for something wholly on price, would you really want to be doing that? So you're hopefully going to be starting to see a decent mix of quality and price, okay, on the tenders that are coming out. The higher the price score, you have to really do the higher price percentage. You do have to wonder whether that's really something you want to be bidding for, to be honest. Okay, so including here we are social value criteria, and it's going to be focused on 4 themes from the PPN and 002 social value model, which we put down here. I'm not going to go into too much detail on those, but you've got tackling economic equality, fighting climate change, equal opportunity, and well-being. So in terms of what buyers are focusing on, some of the feedback that we've had from various people that we worked with over the years, that there's 3 priority areas to mind and drive right now, driving demand right now. So AI adoption, you can't get away from it. It's everywhere, and it's a major part of the government's transformation agenda. So you also will have to look at some of the service modernization and legacy tech modernization. Legacy tech is still a big issue within government. There's a lot of crappy old stuff out there, frankly, that needs to move off of what it's moving, but it's getting more and more difficult to do that. And there's quite a lot of stuff around user-centered design, making sure that the accessibility and the agile delivery can work across all of the lots, and that there's a real focus on making sure that what you deliver does meet a user need. So how do you find opportunities? Well, there's a significant volume of historical contracts that are now coming up for renewal. Plus, you'll have pipeline notices that are coming out. You'll start to see them coming out from find a tender. So relationships with buyers or with partners who can help you out there, visibility of stuff and preparation do matter as much as the response itself. So, please don't be sitting around waiting for opportunities by tendering to land. The work needs to be done to at least join in some. There's a great pre-market engagement running today with the Home Office through Tech UK. There's lots of things being talked about through there. Using the spend data to identify contracts that come up for renewal. This is a really good thing to do. Okay, and the Digital Marketplace does publish all the live opportunities. It's set up so that anyone who's using the framework will push from their systems into that and show that they're actually using that. But differently, it's not going to use the DMP Digital Marketplace to run those competitions. Now, buyers can use the GCA tool, the Jagger tool, or they can use their own systems if they want. But the Digital Marketplace will link to these, and we've got a link to where the live opportunities will be sitting at the end of this as well, so you can bookmark that and make sure there. There's a lovely little quote there from one of our customers at the bottom as well. So what's next? How do we get buyer ready? I won't be too long, crowd commercial. GSO, just warming you up. So how to get ahead of the market? You need to start prospecting and networking now. Don't wait for opportunities to appear. I may have said that once or twice already. I'm using the spend data to identify DOS contracts that come up for renewal. There's very powerful tooling out there. There's some paid for stuff, or there's some free stuff. Both us and GSA offer spend data visualizations from G-Cloud and DOS. We both have different ways of presenting, and there's different filters you use. So we use both of those. There's also paid for stuff from Tussle, Stock Tools, and all the others as well. Try to work out how you're targeting for the opportunities there, know your buyer landscape, and the new procurement legislation is changing how buyers operate. There's a lot more focus on pre-market engagement, certainly for the larger contracts, and transparency is core to a lot of things that are going on at the moment. So if you can understand how that works, you can actually get in there and hopefully give a bit of an edge to people that are just sitting there waiting for tenders to land. So making sure you get response ready now, because there's no real experiential stuff showing at the moment from how DOS 7 procurements are going to be run. The best thing, if you want to get yourself ready, is to go through some of the older procurements to see how they run. So, in my experience of being a buyer, it's a big tanker. It takes a little while to turn. So to learn the new methods and learn the new ways of working does take some time, and people do have jobs and do have things they need to get on with. Now the funding settlements in, we should hopefully start to see a lot more things start coming through. So it's useful to go back and see how things are structured, and maybe start trying to craft some, certainly around the stage 1 stuff, trying to craft some initial responses. There's certainly lots of standard questions out there. Okay, and if you have already responded to things, then maybe review some of the stuff that you've done. Maybe get some help to do some red pen and see where things could be improved or better. All right. So, some of these things, you have the internal resource respond, or your digital marketplace filters in the best shape to get shortlisted. Once you see the tooling there is a loom from one of our delivery team, Rose Headlam. She did something to show you how you can update your filter tools. So that's that. And then, is there any support you need about bid rewriting, reviewing, or ongoing pipeline support? So, quick poll, and then we're going to crack over to GCA. Ready there, okay? So, Christine, if you could see what service you'd like from us to make your DOS experience better. We're trying to find out what people are needing. So if you wouldn't mind helping us out on this, that'd be really great. So we put 4 things there: bid writing, bid reviewing, training and workshops, all of the above. Okay, thank you very much for that. That's good. That's a good idea about the training and workshops and the bid reviewing and feedback. We offer all of this, as you can see. So, we'll get in touch towards the end. There's some stuff to there, and we can maybe have a chat about how things work. With that, we're getting on to the main event now, which is for the guys from the government commercial agency will now head over and see the CAS tool, please, if that's okay with you guys.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris, and good morning, everyone. Okay, so welcome. Today we're going to be looking over the filtering tool and also some wider context around the buyer and supplier journey on DOS 7. So quick agenda before I kick off. Looking first at the buyer journey, why we look to introduce a filtering tool, what the filtering tool looks like in terms of its position within the buyer end-to-end process, and also a live demo of the filtering tool and how it will look to the buyer and how they'll utilize it and practically use it to save their supplier list as well. We'll then move on to the supplier side of the journey. So we'll be looking at digital marketplace, apply to supply, what suppliers need to do to update their filtering tool and the ability for them to do that, along with any changes that we're going to make to the filtering tool and how that process is going to be managed. And then we're going to have a look at the e-sourcing tool in terms of how you'll be expected to bid and receive bids for DOS 7, just to clear up any inconsistencies there or any small changes there from previous editions like DOS 6. We'll then look at the transparency page. This is a page that is created which shows all the historically posted tenders. We have one for, it used to be on digital marketplace, used to have them automatically, and we made one for DOS 6 on contract award service, and we're continuing that for DOS 7 because it was very popular with buyers and suppliers to see kind of the activity, but also the lower level detail of what's happening within those tenders, what the criteria splits look like for other buyers, and the sort of things that are being procured through the agreement as well. We'll then look at the future functionality and supporting materials for yourselves. And then we'll just have a contact us page and how to make suggestions and feedback to lead into that question session just after the presentation as well. So in terms of the buying journey itself and some context around why we're introducing a filtering tool, we know from previous editions of digital outcomes, especially with DOS 6, over 3,400 suppliers at launch for lot 1. In the old regulations, the buyers would have to submit their tender, and when they publish their tender, it would go out to all the suppliers on the lot. This was quite scary and overwhelming for some buyers with smaller teams, as they might be expecting 200, 300 bids to come back from that 3,000 invitations that were sent out. Usually we saw around kind of an average of 20, 25 bids, so it wasn't too much, but it was something that the buyers were concerned about, and they weren't comfortable putting that invitation out to every single supplier, even those suppliers might not be capable. And on the supplier side, suppliers were kind of getting a little bit annoyed at the fact that they were getting invited to all the tenders, even ones that were not relevant to them at all, and that kind of amount of notifications they were receiving just being a live supplier on the agreement. So this filtering tool answers both of those problems. It allows the buyers to make a shortlist to invite those tenders to, which are relevant to the product that they want to procure or that outcome that they're looking for as well. It also helps with the deadlines. So buyers are often on tighter deadlines. I want to get that procurement from end to end as swiftly as possible. And that filtering tool is an extra kind of easy step that they can use in order to get that supplier list down and have more time to score their relevant bids in the later stages of the process, or to have a filtering tool as part of the single stage process and have a very swift and quick end-to-end DOS 7 procurement journey as well. So for these reasons, we're introducing or have introduced that filtering tool. And on the supplier side, suppliers are going to tell us what technical capabilities they can provide and what they can bring to the table and where they can provide that work in terms of their locations, but also on a lot like lot 3 specialists. This will be a mandatory filtering will be something like the specialist role. So it will make sure that if a buyer wants to procure one or more technical architects, they'll have to filter by that technical architect specialist role, and only suppliers who can provide that will be invited to competition. So it kind of cuts out some of the fat in that aspect as well. In terms of the supplier side and the filter selection criteria, you have full control over this through your application portal. So apply to supply or digital marketplace. If you log into here on your supplier account, you'll be able to change and update at any point in time those filtering tool selections. If you were to upscale or downsize, you can adjust those capabilities accordingly. We'll also be changing the filtering tool itself. So it's going to be dynamic, and it's going to be kind of a living thing. So if new products and platforms kind of appear in the market, then we'll be able to add these on as and when they develop, will get more relevant and popular. And if there's stuff we've missed, we may have missed some stuff, then there's feedback forms that suppliers and buyers can send to us in order for them to suggest new products to be added or products that they have, which they can't find on that filtering selection tool. If we were to add new products or add new categories even, we'll let suppliers know in advance what we're going to add and give them a buffer period to get their selections ready before it goes live for the buyer to ensure that filtering tool is effective and is working as needed as well. And finally, we'll be monitoring this filtering tool as it evolves. So it's by no means kind of a finished point in time thing. We'll consider the feedback from buyers and suppliers, seeing how it's used, how effectively it's used as well, and have those discussions to help improve and make that a really good part of the buyer journey as well. In terms of practically how it's going to be used within that buying journey itself, the buyer will start by defining their requirements with their internal teams, maybe some spend control conversations, getting all of their kind of requirements ready, using the requirements template maybe as well on the DOS7 website, and getting that ready to kind of put into the contract awards service platform. They'll then log into Contract Awards Service and create their project, choosing the relevant framework, in this case, DOS7, and they'll be able to select the lot. Once they select the lot they want, it will take them to a page with the filtering tool. Remember, this is completely optional, so buyers are able to bypass the filtering tool and just send out their tender to all suppliers if they want to, but they're also able to utilize the filtering tool. So the first point they'll get to is choosing the agreement, choosing the lot, then they'll get that filtering tool chance. They'll then complete their selections across the locations or the products as well. Or if you're on lot 3, it could be the specialist role. On lot 4, it could be some of those facilities in that user research studio they want to filter by. And once they're happy with their selection, they'll be able to save that list of suppliers. They can save multiple lists, but they can only take one list through to use for their tender. So once they're ready and they have their list, they'll get to another page, which will be the decision of if they want to continue on Contract Award Service platform end to end, or if they want to go away to their own platform. If they were to choose their own platform, they'll be able to export a list of the suppliers with the contact details to invite them to their own platform. But before they can download that list, they'll need to give us a short statement of requirements. This will be some kind of basic information around the tender itself, and it will firstly be posted on that transparency page that I mentioned earlier, and we'll dive into looking at an example of this in a few slides' time as well. But it also tells us at GCA and in the category team what activity is like on the agreement, who is buying, what they're buying, and we can follow up with them if we haven't heard anything a few months down the line and see if it was awarded, who it was awarded to, and gather those details to publish as well. If they were to use CAS for the end-to-end, they would just pick the CAS option, and this would attach that saved list of suppliers from the filtering tool to their first event, and will make sure that when they publish that event after they've completed their statement of requirements, it will only go to those suppliers who have been on that filtering tool selection list. So that's when they publish, and when they publish a normal CAS tender, much like today on DOS6, this will make a transparency page entry as well, with all the details of that tender for suppliers, buyers, anyone who's not even logged in to access that page and kind of see what's happening, what the buyer activity looks like, and what those tender details look like as well. So we're going to have a quick demo of the filtering tool itself. So if I go here, so this is not the actual filtering tool on Contract Award Service. I've chose to use the digital marketplace, which is an exact replica because it's a lot quicker, and I won't need to make a live tender just to access that tool. So this will look a tiny bit different on Contract Award Service, but ultimately you'll get to that point where you choose the agreement, then the buyer will choose the lot, and they'll get to the filtering tool page. As you can see here, we have the list of suppliers on the lot, the full list. So this is unfiltered at the moment. And then they'll have on the side all these different product categories and the location category as well for them to choose. So if we just choose offsite, it'll update that supplier list for those suppliers who have that selected as their offerings or their capabilities. And if we go to, let's say, AI and automation, Amazon Bedrock, it will make that list even more specific to those choices. So we can see we have these many results found in lot 1, which match offsite and Amazon Bedrock. So these suppliers can provide Amazon Bedrock, and they can provide it offsite as a location selection as well. So very simply, that's kind of how the filtering tool is going to work. Buyers can have any combination of filters that they want to match what they might need, and they're able to play around and get to a number they're comfortable with, or a selection list that they're comfortable with as well. And we'll see on the transparency page, if they were to go forward with this filtering list and take it offline, this list will still show on the transparency page. So suppliers, anyone who visits that page will be able to see exactly what filters were applied to that tender. So if you're a supplier and you see something you think you should have been invited to, you can check what the filtering list was and the selections, and then you can kind of update that on your profile if you do actually provide that capability or that product. Just a quick one on the filtering tool as well. I think I've gone over a few of these points already, but just to reiterate for you. Suppliers are able to update their filtering tool selections at any point through that applied to supply account link as well. And new suggestions can be made in terms of new products we don't already have on there on that online feedback form. You can see a link there too as well. And then I'll just mention that process. If we want to add new products or new categories, we will let suppliers know in advance, give them a chance to update that and add that to their listings before we make that live on the tool itself. Just a really quick one on the supplier journey. It's very similar to DOS 6 for those of you who have experience with DOS 6, but when a new tender is posted, email notifications of new tenders will be received in the relevant supplier contacts inbox, but also suppliers will be able to view the DOS 7 tenders in the e-sourcing platform as well. So they can log straight into their e-sourcing Jagger account and view the open tenders there if they prefer that. Ability to provide a rationale for no bid. So yes, within the Jagger platform, if you were to follow through that link, notification, email, or just going onto the e-sourcing account directly, when you see that new tender pop up, you'll be able to see if you are interested or decline to that tender, and you'll be able to put an explanation why you're declining as well if you'd like to do that for better information for ourselves and for the buyers in terms of why those no bids are happening. And then if you are successful, if you were to apply to, let's say, a 2-stage further competition process, you applied for stage 1 and you were one of those, let's say, top 5 suppliers. Once the buyer confirms this on the platform, you will get a notification from Jagger to say that you have been successful, and it will give you a link to invite you to that second stage of the procurement, where you can download their second stage documents and start getting ready for that stage of the competition as well. Okay, transparency page. I've talked about this a little bit before, but I'm going to give you a demonstration of what this looks like. It's very similar to what it looks like for DOS 6 at the moment. I'm zooming a little bit for you here. You can see this is a test page. We've only had, I think we've had one posted now this week in terms of live DOS 7 tenders, but this is kind of a test page. You can kind of see what the different ones are going to look like. But if I just take a quick scan of the page first, you can keyword search. So when there's maybe hundreds of tenders on here a year down the line, if you're a buyer, you could keyword search and get some information about other buyers who have bought similar stuff, how they've made their kind of criteria, and get some help that way. If you're a supplier, you can kind of search by keywords to see kind of what buyers are buying and what kind of relevant different parts of the market are being utilized under DOS as well. You'll be able to download results as a CSV file in bulk as well once that is available. And you can also click into each one and it will have its own page. We have updated this page and made it a lot cleaner, and also added more banners at the top with that vital information that we think suppliers and buyers would want to see first. So you can see the amount of applications that have been submitted at that point in time. You can see what type of procurement it's going to be, the budget, if it's inside or outside of IR35, and also the application closing date as well. And all the relevant fuller information will be available on this page also. Important to note, this is also the information that will be in the bid packs that suppliers can download through Jagger as usual. This is just kind of another place that is displayed for transparency purposes, and it will also at the bottom have the clarification question answers related to that tender at that initial stage as well. I do have an example, let me check which one it was called, of the filtering tool and how that is going to be shown as well. Let me just double check which one that is. Dorset Healthcare. So if I go down to this one. Here we go, this one here. So in terms of filtering tool, it will just be below the banner here. So if the buyer were to use that filtering tool, it will be mirrored here on that transparency page. You can see exactly what they're filtered by. In this case, data architect and senior data architect on that lot 3 has been the filter applied there as well. Moving on to future functionality and guidance. So in terms of future functionality on the CAS platform itself, we do not currently have the end-to-end multi-stage ready, but that is going to be added to contract award service in the near future, as well as ability for the buyer to go back into their tender and update the state of procurement at any point in the journey. At the moment, this kind of is triggered at a certain point in the journey, but we're going to change that so buyers can come back at any point if they forget to return to the platform and update that as appropriate as well. Then we have various quality of life changes to the platform as well. So we have a bunch of different things we want to enhance on the platform when the developers have time to do so, and we'll be kind of changing that in various future iterations of contracts award service. Nothing major, just things that kind of make your journey and the buyer's journey a lot easier when interacting with the platform itself. Then in terms of materials to support customers, we have a video guide almost ready to be released from the buyer side in terms of that procurement journey and to take you through different platforms as well. We have recorded webinars. I've done some supplier introduction and onboarding webinars the last 2 weeks, and they've been recorded and they are available on request, but I'm also going to be putting them on the DOS7 webpage very soon as well, along with the question and answer session. Across those 3 sessions, we've written out into a document to kind of help build that FAQ document for suppliers to see what's being asked and our responses to those as well. In addition, invitation to tender templates, stuff like pricing templates has already been requested from buyers. We don't want to be too prescriptive, but we want to help out and kind of give good examples where we can, and also prepare suppliers for what to expect in terms of those different variations of templates, especially for something like the multi-stage. I'm not sure how they're all going to look like at each stage and what those templates are going to be used. So it'd be good to build that kind of a resource and that library to see kind of how buyers are approaching each of those stages. Also case studies, once we have some more activity, it's early days for DOS7, but we want to build a good library of case studies as well. Transparency pages, spelled wrong, apologies for that. So that transparency page information, be able to download that as a bulk report from that page that I show you once that is gone live for DOS7. And then Q&A responses, I've already said this, but yes, there's Q&A responses from introductory webinars, and even from the webinar today, we can add on to that document to build that robust FAQs document for you as a supplier. And then by all means, that isn't the exhaustive list. If you want any extra help or need any other sessions, or even just needs to give some feedback, good or bad to us, then please contact us through the available channels. We have the technology services mailbox, but we also have the info@ mailbox, which will be info@gca.gov.uk. We have recently changed name. This should say GCA on this banner. Apologies for that. But anything that's sent to Crown Commercial Service will be rerouted to GCA automatically. So don't worry too much about using an old email address for the next year or so. It should still get to us in one way or another.
Jack, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I think it just showed so much stuff there. I was really, really delighted to see all of that stuff you put on there. It's so informative and so important to share all that. And also, I'm very excited about this framework and also what's coming on. Really, really good stuff. Thank you. So quick stuff. I think we offer a lot of services in terms of this. We can help people with getting onto frameworks, with workshops and trainings, whether your product or your service is suitable and which market to go for, and under our go-to-market assessments. We have a retainer, phone a friend service called Procurement Plus, and extensive bid services as well available. In terms of the bid services, we've got some pretty much stuff that work with your one-off tenders or frameworks. We've got the bid writing or bid reviewing. You can read everything that's about there, but we've got some fantastic success rate frameworks. We never lose one. We'll always get people on them, and we guarantee your response, or you get your money back. Bid writing, I wish we could do that, because I'll probably be doing that from a yacht in the Bahamas, but as it is, apologies for the noise earlier. I'm sat in my terrace house in Brighton, which the builders just started work a bit earlier than they were supposed to. So sorry about any background noise there. In terms of a little bit more detail there, we've got, it's perfect. There's Bid Coordinate, which we use for proposal manager, bid manager. It's far more involved. We get much more involved in your teams and working with that as well. And then our Bid Growth, which is it's a major retainer service for us, where we work in partnership with you to help identify opportunities, work with you to get all of your responses in line, and help you identify and respond to and win further bids, either through further competitions on frameworks or through live tendering as well. There's a bunch of stuff there. We've got something from our experience, so very delighted, and thank you so much to those customers that put that there. And this lovely thing from Praveen of CEO of Procurement Connect, who has quite openly said that we've helped him win over £104 million since we started working with them. And I think they run something like 17 out of the 20% of the major government services. So 17 out of 75 are there. So yeah, we value their partnership and their customers. So it's really lovely that he was able to do that for us. But here, quickly, book a quick chat. I'm trying to crack through this as quickly as I can. A final poll before we go into Q&A. So how did you find the session? Was it very useful, learned a lot, useful, good refresher, somewhat useful, wanted more detail, or not quite what you were expecting? For this, if we close that now, that's great. So thank you so much for all of that. Our detractor hasn't turned up either, which is great. And if for more detail, just let us know what more detail you were looking for, please. We'd be happy to extend and do the stuff that we did there. But if we close that now, and then we can crack into Q&A, I'll be really grateful. So Q&A, please. Christina, if you could, I see there's a lot.
So first question is, what is the criteria for stage 1, and do we have a DOS stage 1 response that shows what a good response looks like?
Do we have that? For stage 1, if we're talking about the old school stage 1, as in for a DOS 6 response, yes, we do have those responses. And, there's the exceeding the requirement, meeting the requirement, not meeting the requirement, and failing to meet the requirement overall. So if you think about the situation work results, SWR framework, so what happened, what the problem was, what you did to change it, and what the results were, that's usually a pretty good way to use your words. But you really must, to exceed, you need to explain what you went to do over and above to do more the requirement. Jack, is there anything you can look from a GCA perspective on that?
Yes, I think for DOS 7 it's a tiny bit different. Stage 1 can mean a number of things. If it's a single stage, then the stage 1 will be just that only stage. And the criteria will be, it could be conditions of participation, even though they're not mandatory for a single stage. They will definitely have award questions as well. She'll be answering against kind of the full tender at that single stage. If they're referring to just the stage 1 in terms of a 2-stage further competition, this will be very similar to what a DOS 6 stage 1 would look like, in terms of it's always looking back at what the supplier is bringing to the table, what the capabilities are, their experience of previous things, and that will fit into the conditions of participation the buyer is using. The important difference will be that it's no longer capped to 750 characters per answer. The buyer will have full control over the type of question and the type of response they want. This could be a pass-fail. This could be an attachment question, so attach the relevant certificate or the relevant document. It could just be a capped 1,000-character word question as well. Buyers have a lot more flexibility and control over what criteria they want to apply, but also the kind of templates and type of question they want to use as well.
That's brilliant. Far more detailed than me. So thank you. I'm glad to have the professional in the room there. Thanks so much. I hope that's answered it. Next question, please, Chrissy.
Next question is, can we use the filtering tool the same way that a buyer would to see who or how many competitors show up for each set of filters?
There's no reason why you couldn't try and make, or on the digital marketplace demo that I show you, that should be publicly available. So you should be able to have a little play around with that page. If you can't, then give us a message. We can probably have to work something out in terms of making sure you are appearing where you want to appear when those filters have been set. We could also, something I forgot to mention, we can also provide a full list of all the filtering tool selections in an offline document. It's a lot easier than kind of scrolling through that endless list on the web page itself. So if you're interested in that, we can send through the full selections in kind of an Excel CSV file for you to have a look through and see what's relevant and what isn't relevant to yourself.
I think that would be really great to have that, Jack, and we can make that available as part of the post webinar pack, actually, to save you getting inundated with hundreds of people, because I think we've got quite a large number of registrations on here. So yeah, if we can take care of that, that would be really helpful, I think, for both of us, for everyone here.
Yeah. Okay, next question is, what is the purpose of CAS if a supplier is already registered on the GCA e-sourcing portal? Can suppliers log straight into e-sourcing, or is CAS required to access it?
Okay, so good question. The way I explain it is we have 3 platforms. We have 4 platforms, but the 4th platform is the application platform for suppliers. We'll leave that to the side for now. So we have Public Procurement Gateway. This is the front door for buyers and suppliers to access any agreement that's on Contract Award Service. CAS, Contract Award Service, is the buyer side of things. That's where they're entering their requirements, use the filtering tool, and publish their tender. Once they publish on CAS, it will send a copy of this event into eSourcing, Jagger, and this is where the suppliers will interact with it. So it's kind of 2 different systems, one from the buyer, one from the supplier, that both talk to each other at certain points of the journey. So from a supplier, you'll need to utilize Jagger or eSourcing for your bids. And once you send an application, let's say for stage 1 on the tender, it will send that through to CAS for the buyer to download. So as a supplier, you won't be interacting with CAS, or you shouldn't be. You'll be interacting with PPG, eSourcing, and the Apply to Supply portal.
Thanks, Jack. That's fantastic.
A few more questions before we finish up, and then obviously, as we've said, we will write up all the rest and send that out this afternoon. Just to make sure we as a company aren't missing out on any ITT opportunity, how many ITTs have been launched on the eSourcing portal from the launch date?
Easy answer, 1 that we know of. So there's been 1 so far. And very recently, we've been having the activity reports each day, and the first one appeared this morning. So yeah, you're not missing out on much at all. So there's nothing that's actually happened yet. Buyers, we have a lot of draft ones we can see in the actual platform itself, but only 1 that's been published live.
I think to explain that, there's only recently been the annual funding settlement, so people are starting to now understand what the what the individual departments or authorities can actually spend the money on, and they're now working out, okay, right, we've got this. This is now what we need to go out for and go out. But as far as I know, there is as Jack outlined there's a big pipeline of stuff coming down. So definitely keep an eye out. But it'd be worthwhile just checking out that first one that's on there.
And I think I just spotted a question that was on lot 2, I believe, as well.
Do all suppliers receive notification from buyers for specialist roles, or are only those suppliers filtered by buyers based on those requirements?
So with specialist roles on lot 3, it's a mandatory filter for the specialist role itself. So if you can't provide that specialist role, you will not be invited to that competition. It will only be suppliers who can provide 1 or more of that role who will be invited to those tenders on lot 3.
Thanks, Jack. Chrissy, should we do 2 more and then we can start to wrap up?
Yeah. Okay, this one's quite interesting. AI is one of the main areas of focus, but then we're also getting asked social value questions about the environment and carbon reduction. These things are contradictory in a single response. Are buyers aware of this?
I think from my perspective, everyone is going to have to start taking into account that and the cost of carbon and the cost of what they're doing into that, as well as part of the social impact. I don't know, Jack, have you got anything else to add to that one? It's quite an interesting question.
Yeah, it's something that buyers ask us a lot. Not particularly the AI part, we've had that before, but just in terms of social value and what that actually means from a buyer perspective as well. We do signpost buyers to the relevant PPN, and we do have some knowledge share workshops where buyers kind of talk amongst themselves around how they apply social value, especially in kind of bigger contracts and bigger tech contracts, and what that even might look like at a local level. But with the AI, it's a very interesting question. I think it's something that will probably come up a lot more. I don't have an answer for you on the top of my head, but I think it's something we will see discussion on and see answers from in the future. With that transparency page for DOS 7, it'll be interesting to see when we see something that's filtered by AI or has AI as a component, how they've mentioned that in the social value aspect and kind of how they've approached that as a buying organisation as well.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a watch this space, that one, I think. So thank you for that. And yeah, just one more, Chrissy, and then we'll wrap up. You're massively overrunning right now.
Yeah. For non-UK registered entities, is there any particular considerations to note in terms of UK procurement needs?
So on the onboarding, we did accept relevant certifications at each level, at framework level. So if you couldn't get a certain certification because you weren't kind of a UK-based entity, we were accepting relevant ones. The thing with buyer, so buyers might add their own conditions of participation above this. These might suit a supplier who is outside of the UK, or it might not. This would be down to the kind of case-by-case basis on that contract. You're free to ask in the clarification question period about those kind of differences and what they're willing to accept and what they aren't. But it shouldn't be at a framework level any difference between those who are offshore and those who aren't.
I think probably the main consideration, thank you for that, that's really helpful. I think the main consideration I would say was when you're looking at opportunities, if it's looking like it's handling sensitive or secure data or has a security clearance requirement in there, then offshoring is probably, or for non-UK companies, it's probably not for you. So you just need to have a look at the sort of stuff you're doing. And if you're involved in market engagement, pre-market engagement as well, that's a really good question to ask, is so you don't waste your own time, is to sort of ask the authority what their plans are and if it's allowable for non-UK entities to even bid for this. So you can build your pipeline that way as well. But yeah, I think that's us. We've got a lot of questions there. I really do want to thank also the resources. So there's a bunch of stuff here. I mean, Crown Commercial, GCA and their stuff. Sorry, I will get used to that. Apologies. Have put in a bunch of resources in there as well. We've put some here. There's the DOS 7 buyer's guide, which is incredibly helpful if you understand how anything's ever bought. We've got the live opportunities there. There's the spend data. We've got the quick loom there by our very own Ruth Headlam. I talk about how to update your DOS 7 filters as well. And of course, a link to our knowledge hub there as well, where we include everything all of our knowledge and what we know around public procurement and helping you win better business and deliver better services. A huge thank you to Jack and to Jordan as well from GCA for that show and tell about everything, and to you for attending as well. I'm really grateful for you doing that. It's massively helpful, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the rest of the stuff that comes out of DOS as it becomes live and becomes the agreement that I think we all know and love. But without that, I think congratulations with that, and thank you also for Christina as well. Anyone watching this later on the recording or watching on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe and to like this, and also to follow us on LinkedIn. Thank you very much. Good luck with everything, and I look forward to hearing from you. Please do get in touch if you've got any other questions. But without that, I think we're done. Thank you so much to Jack and Jordan and to Chrissy as well. Thanks, everybody.